Support for Audacious with Kyone Wolf provided by a generous contribution from Suzanne Hopgood in memory of Frank Lord.
From Connecticut Public Radio in Hartford, this is Audacious. I'm Kyone Wolf, and it is very sweaty in this microphone mascot outfit, and I can't see my script, so...
Okay, that is so much better. Here's the thing about mascots. When you look at one, you're not supposed to see the person inside. You're supposed to see a fearsome tiger or a lovable goat or whatever the Phillie Phanatic is. But inside that suit, there's a living, heavily breathing human being. Someone sweating, improvising, scanning the crowd, and trying to decide in a split second, do I high-five this kid? Steal this guy's hat? Spray these innocent sportcasters with silly string? And when they do it right, something magical happens. Whole stadiums cheer, families laugh, strangers bond, and tickets sell. Today, we look at life inside and all around mascots. We'll hear from the director of sales at Olympus Mascots, a giant in the business of designing and building these larger-than-life characters. And we'll meet a Connecticut man whose turn as a college mascot led him to become Chompers, the Hartford Yard Goats mascot, which then opened the door to one of the most unexpected and fun sports gigs around. But I am chomping at the bit to introduce you to someone you already know, at least on the outside. Representing the Philadelphia Phillies, standing tall at 6'6" with a 90-inch waist, covered in bright green fur with a long green tubular snout, pink eyelashes, powder blue eyebrows, and an extendable tongue. One of the most recognized, beloved, photographed, talked about, merchandised sports mascots on Earth, the Phillie Phanatic. Inside all that fur, inside all that chaos and joy, is a man whose name non-Phillies fans may not know. The one who dances ridiculously, pulls pranks, fuels his rivalry with Mr. Met, and shakes that big green belly in the name of love. He calls himself the best friend of the Phillie Phanatic, Tom Burgoyne. It all started back in 1989.
I saw an ad in the paper that said Mascots won it, not knowing it was for the Phillie Phanatic job or, the Phillies. It just was a P.O. box. And then a week later, I get a call from the Philadelphia Phillies. I was the biggest Philadelphia Philly sports fan in my town. And, I was the kid, class clown, the kid who loved sports. I mean, this was just and I was a mascot in high school, but still had no thoughts of this. And so when that call came, that I guess was the moment, and then I had to go down, audition, interview, and I left thinking, oh, well, I was terrible and they'll never pick me. And sure enough, they picked me. And it's been 37 years of mayhem and fun and just a real blessing. That's for sure.
I want to know, over these decades that you've been doing this work, how much is the character you? Have you integrated yourself with the Phillie Phanatic?
Well, we're not the same because I'm a father of 3 grown-up boys now, and I'm a pretty mild-mannered guy when I'm not around the Phanatic. But when I'm with the Phanatic, I do get a chance to kind of revert back to that class clown, and you can kind of just let it fly. People can't really see my face, so I think that helps if I have a little bit of shyness in me, which my wife would, you're not shy, but there are things I wouldn't do if I didn't, have that on. But yeah, no doubt that I think we're the same. We love to have fun. I think we have big hearts, and we love our Phillies, and we love Philadelphia in general. We just love it.
On a typical game day, if there is such a thing, will you walk me through the process before the game, getting ready, getting intimate with the Phillie Phanatic? How does it all go?
Yeah, I get to the ballpark at least 3 hours or more before a game, going over with our entertainment team and our promotions group what we're doing that night. And then I go up to our control room and I talk to the producer of the show and talk to our music person. The amazing thing really is, the Phanatic made his debut in 1978. That was his first year. And it's amazing how the structure of the show has stayed the same. It's been basically the Phanatic goes out before the game, he messes around with the players and the anything that's on the field. The kids are going to sing the national anthem, the coaches, umpires. And then the Fanatics in the crowd, mostly in the third into the fourth inning. And then he's highlighted twice a game, at the end of the fifth inning and at the end of the seventh inning live. So on the field, he does some kind of, could be anything, shoot hot dogs, dance with kids, plan an umpire, dance with a real umpire. You never know what's going to happen in the fifth inning, which is a lot of fun. And then in the seventh inning, he's on the dugout leading cheers during the bottom of the seventh inning. And then at the end of the seventh inning, he dances. And so that structure has been going on for 47 years now. It really hasn't changed. It's such a generational thing. It's like now dads, are running after the Fanatic and they're telling their kids, hey, I used to do this when I was, your age. And that show has kind of stayed the same. So that familiarity, really, we just have a lot of equity built into that. And it's a great thing, really is.
So you've had a lot of experiences bringing joy and love to people. I mean, that's like baseline. That's like Phillie Phanatic resting face is love, right?
It is. It really is.
And this feels sacrilegious to even ask or think about, but have there been any experiences where people behaved in ways that were not loving to the Phillie Phanatic?
Yeah, I'm always amazed. But so now 47 years, when you think of the number of interactions, just think of the number of interactions. I mean, we still do 600-700 appearances a year. We still, I'm in front of 3 million fans live, at the ballpark, just the hundreds and hundreds of millions of fans, that maybe the Fanatic has run into over the years. It's just incredible. And there have been very few people who have not enjoyed it or wanted no parts of it. And I think that is, it's funny. I remember hearing like mascotting is an American art form. You think of, I know jazz is an American art form. And I guess with mascots, the art form, part of it is reading people, and you have to kind of do it instantaneously. So I know if the Fanatic going down the steps he's at the game and there's a guy who's keeping score, and paying attention to the game. Well, that's somebody you just moved past. But if you can just sense in somebody's body language, within a split second, if they want to have some fun with you. And so I think that eliminates a lot of people who, maybe don't want to be loved by Fanatic.
That's true. And I think about, too, there are people who maybe have a fear of people in mascot uniforms or some other social aversion, or just like not being able to compute like what this is, who this is. People are different and they don't always react the same, and that's all right.
No doubt. And there are many people, those people I know. First of all, a girl who I work in the office, I've worked with her now for over 35 years, and she still gets nervous. My kids, all three of my kids, they knew what daddy did. But when they were about 3, when they were young, a lot of, 2 or 3 years old, it can be a scary thing. So they all had their moments of being scared for a little time. But my oldest son is getting married, and sure enough, his fiance, it's just kind of naturally afraid of mascots and costume characters, so I totally get it.
This seems like it's an awfully physical thing to do on a regular basis for decades and decades and decades. And I wonder to what degree this is physically challenging for you. Are there ever days where you're like, ugh, do I have to?
Yes, I guess there are. Kind of really not a lot of those kind of days. I will say physically, yeah. And I have had physical, knee, I've had back issue for 20 years. For every body part, I've had my nose broken, my eye socket broken with flying baseballs, being thrown at the Fanatic. So yeah, from that standpoint, a lot is going on, but I still, feel very blessed and fortunate to be able to still wind up doing it and not having, something that's taken me out where I'd have to stop doing it. But in terms of the bad day thing, I got to tell you, it is magic, because once I assume that personality, all the cares go away. Even physical ailments. I've had times where my assistant has had to kind of help me out of the chair and help me to the door to get to where we had to go. And by the time I get to where we have to go and I'm surrounded by all this love, there's no pain. So it's pretty cool.
How do you think this work has formed you? I mean, we talked earlier about how you've sort of merged, but I mean, were you always a loving person? Were you always somebody who was drawn to this sort of spontaneous improvised interaction. I mean, you said you were a mascot in high school, right? So
Yeah.
this seems like it serves you, but I wonder if you had not found the Phillie Phanatic, how do you think you'd be different?
I wouldn't be as happy. I really do believe, I can't imagine I would be. But I went to Drexel University, and I remember I have a couple brothers who also went to Drexel. They both were marketing majors. And I was like, all right, I'll be a marketing major. So I probably would have been doing something people related. And in terms of marketing, though, I have really found what marketing is, my own little definition, is the way it, you can excite someone, and it has to do with the senses, and you're exciting somebody about your product or service. And that's what the Phanatic does. He makes you feel. In my book, Feel the Love, we were really hammering the love word, but the feel part is just as important. The Phanatic makes you feel, those dads who are running after the Phanatic. For them, it's nostalgia. For other, it's, laughter. For other people, it's heart. For other, it's family, when they see the Phanatic. Whatever they get out of it is how they feel. So, the Phanatic is kind of a walking marketing experiment, because he makes you feel that way.
I completely agree. I used to be in sales, and I think a lot about how people make buying decisions in large part based on how they feel about the salesperson, the company.
Yep.
And in that sense, I wonder if there was no Phillie Phanatic, how do you think attendance at Phillies games would go?
People are always so nice to me when they say that. I'm like, oh, we go to the Phillies games to see the Phillie Phanatic. I'm like, wow, that's very nice. And maybe if you have young kids and, but it really is a perfect storm when the team's going well and the Phanatic's out there. And I don't know how much the Phanatic draws attendance, but I will say the brand has never been stronger. And there have been reasons for that. First of all, the Phillies have always done just a magnificent job in promoting and giving the Phanatic all the toys he needed. He was the first one with a 4-wheeler on the field, or a hot dog launcher, or a van to get to where he's got to go with appearances. So they've always invested in the Phanatic. They've invested those 2 inning breaks that I told you about. Not every mascot gets a chance to entertain the way the Phanatic does, and then even before the game, they'd say, yeah, go out and have fun. And the Phanatic would mess around with the players. Well, back then, when mascots weren't really around, that was kind of taboo. Like, oh, you don't mess with the players, So they've always really treated it, really well. So the brand has never been stronger. Bryce Harper is our big player. Came to us a few years ago, and he started wearing Phillie Phanatic cleats and hats and headbands and all these things, and he really made it cool to be a Phanatic fan. And so that really was a great jolt, I think, for the brand. We now merchandise the Phanatic like we'd never have. And now really, when you go to a game, the Phanatic's always been a big part of the game experience in Philadelphia, but now it's with everybody wearing their Phanatic gear and, everybody needing a picture and a selfie and all that. It's just really exploded.
When people want pictures with you,
yes,
do you smile?
I think I do, actually, a lot of the time. Yeah, I think so.
It's seems counter to how the brain works to not smile for a picture, even though no one can see you.
The camera thing is such a whole different animal, in that 30 years ago, I could go through a 10-game homestand and not pose for any pictures. People weren't bringing cameras. Some people would bring a camera to the game, but now I hear, with their 40,000 cameras at the game, that's 40,000 people want a picture of the Phanatic, so it really can be difficult to manage, but when you can stop and just be present with somebody, pose for a picture for 5 seconds and move on, you could be making a memory that lasts a lifetime.
How long do you think you're going to do this for?
Yeah, that's a big question. Next year's a big year. The Phillies host the All-Star game. So we last hosted in 1996. And so since the America's turning 250 years old, they thought it'd be great to have the All-Star game in Philly. A lot going on in Philly next year. So that'll be a big year. And then we'll see after that. I'm hoping I can squeeze another year or two out of me. If my body holds up, that'll be the telltale. If my body's good, the spirit is definitely willing. So
when you think about hanging up the hat, so to speak, I don't know, what does that feel like?
It'll be tough to give up. The Phanatic is now part of me, but I also get a real joy out of the fact that, it's not about me. it's about the Phanatic, and the fact that the Phillie Phanatic will still be with us forever. As long as the Phillies are around, the Phanatic will be around, and that's that really gives me a lot of joy.
It's like your legacy will live on beyond your death.
Yes, I love it. What a great thing to be known for, So, Kayo and I was so lucky to be in the right place at the right time to answer that ad, and then for it to lead a career like this is like beyond my imagination. Yeah.
Speaking of your death, which of course I hope doesn't happen for a very long time.
Thank you.
Do you imagine the Phillie Phanatic being like an element in your grave site or your memorial service? I mean,
well, the Phanatic, first of all, the Phanatic does a lot of appearances. We've done everything. I used to say, well, he does everything. Weddings, bar mitzvahs, you name it. I've done everything but a funeral. Well, sure enough, I did a funeral a few years ago, and the Phanatic got invited to a funeral and really lightened the mood. Obviously, the guy was a big Phillies fan. But beyond that, I've had a lot of people written letters to me and sent pictures and there's the Phillie Phanatic doll in somebody's casket, or a picture of the Phanatic with that person in a casket. And so just to think that you had that kind of impact, you can't even really put that into words. So yeah, I guess if you're going to bury me, you might want to throw a Phanatic doll in there with me. Sure.
it's funny because I feel like I know the answer to this question, but I mean, at the end of your life, when the New York Times obit runs, like it's going to be you, Tom Burgoyne, Phillie Phanatic. Like that'll be the headline, right?
Yeah.
Best friend of Phillie Phanatic. I'm sorry, I'm staying on your death here, but how do you feel about this work, this friendship with the Phillie Phanatic and the Phillies being the identifying thing in your life when you are also other things? You're not only this one thing, and I know it. Everyone who knows you knows it. So how do you feel about being eternally connected with the Phillie Phanatic?
It's a great feeling. And certainly people who don't know me personally, that's the way they would know me. Oh yeah, Tom Burgoyne, he was the best friend of the Phillie Phanatic. And that just right there, not that I'm worried what people think of me who I don't know, but still it's like, oh, that guy, yeah, he probably was a good guy. It's like, he was probably pretty good.
I know a jerk cannot be best friends with a Phillie Phanatic.
Right. Yeah, he was probably a good guy. And then everybody else, like all my friends, like I'm not a big social media guy. And so it's like my friends and my family who know me beyond. I mean, I really love going to our family, family party or party and not have to talk about the Phanatic and I can be Tom Burgoyne, who loves sports, loves his family. But so I think it's safe to say that I won't be known just as Phillie Phanatic with my family and friends, but to be linked with the Phanatic, it's better than being linked with Mr. Met. That's all I can say.
Shots fired.
Oh, look what I did there. I took a shot at Mr. Met. We all love each other.
By the way, I should have asked this at the beginning. What can you tell me about how this thing was created? Who came up with it? Is there like a nutshell version of that?
Yeah. The San Diego chicken was really kind of the first of its kind. Well, you could go to Max Paxton, who was the clown prince of baseball back in the 60s. He would go to ballparks and act like a clown as a third base coach and do some different things. So a lot of what the mascot act has been patterned after has been Max's act. But anyway, the chicken in San Diego was with a radio station, and he was performing between innings and doing crazy crowd interactive stuff. It's kind of a radio promotion. So that's what the Phillies brass kind of saw the chicken and said, hey, well, maybe we can make our own. And so they did a very smart thing. They called Jim Henson, because this was the 70s, and they called right up to Jim, who was big with the Muppets, obviously, and Sesame Street. They put us in touch with a woman who had created Miss Piggy and a bunch of the other characters, and together with the Phillies created the character. So that's how he kind of was born.
That is even more magical.
Yeah.
Anything Jim Henson and his company touches. Wow.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? Yeah.
Wow, that makes it even, I bet, more emotional for you too, to be part of that legacy.
Yeah, part of that lineage for sure. The Phanatic and Miss Piggy are linked, we're cousins, second or third cousins. I don't know how that works.
Well, Tom Burgoyne, thank you so much for talking with me.
Thanks. It was great being on your show, and best of luck. I'm glad you found your calling and your perfect world too. It's great. It's all good.
When we get back, ever wonder how a great mascot is born?
If someone were to hear us talk without any context, they would think we're crazy. Oh, did that head make it out in the mail today? Or like, did you get that neck back? Or did you adjust the feet?
I'm Kyone Wolf. This is Audacious. Stay with me. This is Audacious. I'm Kyone Wolf, coming at you with our show about mascots. In just a bit, you'll hear how saying yes to mascotting just once set a Connecticut man on the path to a dream job he never could have imagined. But first, when you see a mascot on the field, or the court, or maybe at a fundraiser, do you ever stop and think, somebody had to make that thing? Well, Mikaela Higgins thinks about this all the time. She's the manager of mascot sales at Olympus Mascots, a company that started off way back in 1893 as Olympus Group. And they were famous for making American flags, but in 1965, when the McDonald's Corporation asked if they would design the costume for Ronald McDonald, they couldn't resist. Since then, they've built more than 20,000 signature costumes, collaborating on some of the most iconic mascots out there. Tony the Tiger, the Gecko Geico, the Energizer Bunny. And my personal favorite, the mascot they made for my alma mater, the Farmington High School Riverhawks. Go Hawks! So, how in the world did Mikaela end up managing mascot sales for the biggest name in the business?
So when I was younger, actually, I always told my dad that I wanted to work for Major League Baseball. And so when I went to college, I actually was a radio, TV, film major, and I really fell in love with sports production. So I actually did work for the MLB, which was awesome, and a couple of minor league teams, which was great. And I was always in charge of our entertainment. You know, if you go to like a basketball game, for example, like when you see the halftime show or the dance team or the cheerleaders, like I was in charge of all that and coordinating all of that. On top of that, I worked, with our mascot department and crew. Mascot trainer, in charge of washing the mascot, hiring the mascot, keeping it cleaned, ordering mascots, etc. So I was actually a client of Olympus Groups. And then when I moved to Wisconsin, I was like, hey, what a cool organization. I loved working with them as a client. What if I worked for them as my job? So that's how I ended up here.
When someone contacts you and they say, okay, I'd like to develop a mascot, I've got an idea, how does that process go?
We can really work with anything as long as there's something to go off of. So we'll discuss their design, and then we'll actually talk about what the best type of build is for their mascot. We actually create two different types of mascots. One's a standard mascot, which is normally what you see at like a sports game with a jumpsuit. It's usually an animal or some kind of humanoid. So it'll have a jumpsuit, it'll have a head, etc. But we also make foam shaped mascots, like racing style mascots or can style mascots, etc. It just builds on a different shape depending on what the customer, wants and needs for their design. So once we talk about the design, we actually will create a free sketch for the customer and send that to them until we get it exactly right, exactly what they want. And we can hit, Pantone colors, we can hit custom print, dyes, anything that they need. If the eyes need to be googly eyed, etc. We'll do all that for them. So once we get an approved sketch, we can go into production and we actually start building the mascot. That's where like the really fun stuff begins, because we get to be super creative and work with our designers. And our team of designers is just absolutely amazing. We have people that went to SCAD in Savannah, Georgia. Myatt is a very popular school. A lot of these people have their masters in costume design. I mean, they're just amazing. So it's really fun to work with artistic people like that every single day.
I went through your website and I looked at every single mascot ever made that's posted on that website. What were maybe some of the more complicated ones? And then one of my guess is the club sandwich was a bit complicated. I mean, it's got a lot of layers.
Yes.
It's got a lot of stuff sticking out of it. But which ones are maybe a little more work or creative heavy than some of the other ones?
It's funny that you say that, because a lot of people do think that stuff like that club sandwich, is very difficult. And it is very much so. but it's actually some of the ones that I think look very simple, but they're actually very complicated. For example, one that comes to mind is the Pillsbury Doughboy. Because of the sheer size of him, because he's such an iconic brand, he has such a distinct look, and you cannot mess up that look. Specifically in his tummy. His tummy is a really unique shape, and you have to get it just right. So building that all out of foam by hand is extremely difficult. And then also finding someone to, how to fit inside that mascot and how to move inside of it. It's just the sheer size of the Doughboy is honestly kind of crazy. It's made for a person that's probably around 5'2", but once that person gets inside of it, they're 6 foot tall. So yeah, I'm a 5'2" woman, and when I get in that Pillsbury Doughboy costume, I'm now 6 foot. So it's crazy because the hat and getting everything right and making sure everything fits accordingly. So it turned out amazing. I'm so happy with it. But yeah, just those really iconic brands where you have to get everything exactly right is definitely very tricky, especially with shapes, just because they're so labor intensive.
Wait, you said that you got to try that on. Do you get to try out all the new mascot outfits?
If I want to, I can. Yeah. So this is actually part of our process as well. Before we send any of our mascots out, we actually do try them all on just to make sure that vision is clear, that the helmet is okay and adjustable, that the harness works accordingly, that there's no, rips or seams missing, etc. There's no parts missing. So we do try on all of our mascots before we send them out, which is part of our process that's called an inspect and pack. So we'll inspect it for all the things. We jump in it. We walk around the store for a little bit. We'll say hi to people in it. We'll wave, make sure it can do all the fun things that mascots should be able to do. And once it's gone through that inspection, we pack it up and it's shipped off. So if I'm tall enough, or I should say short enough to fit in the mascots, I will definitely try them on. Generally, they're made for people that are taller than me, unfortunately. So I don't get to be a model all the time. The perfect person is probably about 5'10". But yeah, it's super fun to try them on. I actually really enjoy that about my job. It's pretty funny. We always kind of joke about like, oh, hey, can you hand me that head? Or like, did you ship those hands out? Like if someone were to hear us talk without any context, they would think we're crazy. Oh, did that head make it out in the mail today? Or like, did you get that neck back? Or did you adjust the feet? Oh, it's too funny. So our job is always comical. We always have such a good time with it. And the mascots, we're very proud of everything we make. So getting final photos of everything, before it goes out is really fun.
Is there a new mascot smell?
That's a great question. And the answer is yes. There is a new mascot smell. Oh my gosh. It smells like glue. Yes. New mascot smell is glue. And we do not send them out to customers like that because I think we would make people faint.
So do you got to like air them out?
Yes. It is such a strong glue smell. And I've been in some really new ones when we're taking photos and it is strong. So yes, we air them out. We actually put like fans inside the head. So that's funny because I don't think any of our clients know that there's a new mascot smell, but we definitely do.
Was there ever a mascot idea that y'all had to reject and say, we're not doing that?
Yes, unfortunately. We can't do anything political.
Probably a good idea.
Probably a good idea. Yeah. We would never want to make fun of a politician or anything like that. But for the most part, we really do it all. I mean, we've done human body parts.
I'm sorry, what?
We most recently did a kidney.
Oh, for like a hospital or transplant organization?
Yes, exactly. So it's really cool. And we also recently did a catheter. Which is super interesting. Speaking of the medical field, we did a catheter recently. So it's very cute, actually. So I'm a big fan of that one.
So if you, Mikaela Higgins, could design your mascot for yourself or your life or a special interest that you have, it would be your mascot outfit. What would it be?
It would probably be my dog. She's a King Charles Cavalier.
Oh, sweet. I love them.
I love them too. And like, honestly, like I've never made a King Charles Cavalier before. So I think it'd be so fun. Like, and I actually like, this sounds so funny. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy you asked me this question because I actually have all the furs picked out already that I would make for her if I made her into a mascot. It's like rust super seal fur with snow white super seal fur with snow white howl shag for her tail. Like I have it all picked out. So I really wish I could make her a new mascot because I think it'd be so funny. And I would love to just like be a giant her and then have her experience that. I think it'd be so funny. So that's what I would do. I love that you asked me that question.
What's her name?
Brooklyn.
How do you think she would respond to you walking through the door in that outfit?
I honestly think she would love it. But most dogs, I think, are afraid of mascots, to be very honest with you. We do a lot of pet shows with some of our mascots, and it's tough. Some of them really love them, and then others are very, very skeptical.
The mascots so far have been identifiable. There's a bulldog, there's a tiger, there's a club sandwich, there's a catheter. I wonder if there is room or if there is thought about the maybe more abstract kind of art that could go into a wearable piece of art.
Oh, yeah. We love abstract. So we actually have a separate kind of file name for our abstract mascots called, and we call them Whatsits. Those mascots in the Whatsits category are honestly some of our favorites because they are so crazy and no one really knows what they are. Is it an animal? Is it a human? Is it an alien? No one knows. And that's totally great. We love it. Like, and that's kind of like where I think like the Phillie Phanatic could kind of fall into like that Whatsits category. If you look up Whiffer with the Wisconsin Timber Rattlers, there's just so many really fun Whatsit characters. And I love them because they can be anything they want to be. And isn't that what we all should be? Just anything we want to be. So I love Whatsits.
I love that too. It makes me think about almost like the future of fashion when you think about a really high concept fashion show. I mean, sometimes it's almost like they're wearing mascot uniforms, but it's just this, it's taken a totally different form. It's truly wearing almost like a puppet.
You are so right. I love that.
I'm into it.
Me too.
Have there ever been mascot ideas that you've had or someone's pitched that never really came to be and you lose sleep over it?
Yeah, honestly, there's one right now that if we don't make it, I think I'll be devastated.
What is it?
I can't tell you what team it's for, but it is for a sports team, and it's going to be a pink, fuzzy, amazing llama. And I want to make it so bad. Honestly, I will lose sleep over it if we don't make it. There's also another one. This one was like so funny. We actually cannot find anything about it. If we tried to like Google it, but it was this big, huge yellow character called Butter Baby. And we actually went through the design process and we sketched it out for them. And like me and my designer, John, we were like so obsessed with this mascot. We're like, we want to make Butter Baby. Like, we don't care what it takes. We need to make this mascot. And unfortunately, the client like didn't move forward. And like John has Butter Baby cut out at his desk in like a frame. And it's like RIP. And we like look at it every day. We're like, oh, I want to make Butter Baby so bad. So yeah, there's like mascots that we just kind of fall in love with their design, and like we're sad when they like don't come to fruition for sure. Because it's just so fun. You kind of like, start to bond with these characters as you're like going through the design process and creating them and things like that. So when they don't come to fruition, it is kind of sad.
And the world does need more furry pink llamas.
It really does. Come on. If it comes true, which I really hope it does, it's going to be one of my favorite mascots of all time, I think.
Will you tell me about a mascot that personally is extremely special to you?
So I went to a place called Horicon High School, and we never had a mascot. We had like, a logo, and it was funny because he's very unique. He's called the Marshman because Horicon is a city actually built on a marsh. Really small town in Wisconsin, about 3,000 people. I graduated with 50 kids, like very, very small school. My dad was actually my principal growing up, which is cool. So really like good ties to this amazing little town. And about a year ago now, I was at my desk and I get a call from Horicon High School. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This is awesome. And lo and behold, my cross country coach was on the other line from high school. We haven't spoken in a decade. And I was like, LB? He was like, sorry, who is this? I was like, it's Mikaela. And he's like, oh my gosh. He's like, I thought you were like working in the MLB. I thought you were in Detroit. I was like, no, I moved back. Like, he's like, well, Mikaela, we're interested in creating the Marshman. And I was like, this is awesome. So it was a huge special project to me. The Marshman is just he's such a unique character. He was actually like designed after Horicon High School's original football coach. He's like this big, like tough looking guy, and he's just so fun, and he wears waders and has a big H on his chest. He's very muscular, really, really cool guy with kind of like a grimace. But that was a really, really special project for me. So I actually got to bring my alma mater. I know you said we made yours too, which is so cool. So we actually got to make mine as well. So very special project to me.
Oh, I love that. Mikaela Higgins. Thank you so much for talking with me.
Thank you for having me. This was so fun. I really needed this. You are such a light of energy. I love it. Thank you so much.
After the break, sometimes a person becomes a mascot because they're a natural entertainer, and sometimes, when opportunity calls, they just pick up the phone.
So it has gone from a side yes out of necessity in college and a nationally televised game to now including the NFL. Yes is a pretty audacious word.
I'm Kyone Wolf. This is Audacious. Stay tuned. This is Audacious. I'm Kyone Wolf. Perhaps one of the strangest mascots in all of sports is named Chompers, the big, blue, buck-toothed face of one of the strangest named minor league baseball teams, the Hartford Yard Goats. Chompers and his equally goat-tastic partner Choo Choo are the goofy, googly-eyed, belly-shaking ambassadors of Hartford baseball. And one man was among the first ever to inhabit the role of Chompers, Conor Geary. But Chompers plays just one part of Conor's unlikely but totally freaking awesome story arc. He grew up a fearless theater kid, but when he got to Siena College in 2007, he decided to put the drama aside for a while, get a business degree, and become student senate president.
And one day we had a nationally televised basketball game. And I got a call somewhere in the mid-morning from our vice president of student affairs. And she said, Connor, our mascot is sick. We need the mascot to be on ESPN as part of this nationally televised game. And we do not trust anybody to get in the suit. So it's got to be you. Because as the student government president, I had too much to lose to not handle this job properly. So for the first time ever, somewhere I think in the spring of 2008, I was Bernie the St. Bernard for the Siena College Saints.
And that was your first time as a mascot.
That was my first time, was on a nationally televised game in front of 12, 15,000 people, whatever it was. And it was amazing. When you don a mascot suit, you adopt the personality associated with that mascot. And for many mascots, that is fun, that is antics, that is comedy, that is miming, it is tricks and, shenanigans and tomfoolery and all of those things. And to do it right, I think you really have to understand that, because you can get away with things that a human being otherwise can't behaviorally. Even in formal settings, you can, tap the CEO on the shoulder and look the other way, or you can take somebody's hat and swipe it off their head, and all these kinds of things you would never be able to get away with. So it is really fun to kind of have that fail. Fast forward, they announced that they're going to bring a minor league baseball team to downtown Hartford. They unveil the name and the logo, and all these things kind of come, they break ground. And at the time I was living in downtown Hartford, I was working in downtown Hartford. So I became sort of a champion of this soon to be team before it existed and before the first pitch was ever thrown at Hartford. And one day they posted to their Facebook page that they were going to be holding mascot auditions. And I went, oh, I mascotted a couple times. I mean, that's, that'd be fun. Maybe that's a good way to see a baseball game or get a little, adult beverage money on the side or something like that, So I remember putting it in my phone as a reminder for whatever, a couple of weeks in the future. And that day comes, my phone goes off, and I happen to be off from work that day. So I go on Facebook and I'm looking, and I don't see any updates. I can't find the original thing. I don't see anything. So I sent the Yard Goats Facebook page a message, and they responded back to me pretty quickly. And they said that unfortunately, due to lack of sign up, that they kind of had to postpone the audition. I said, I didn't even know I had to sign up. I thought it was, and they responded and said, we kind of need somebody tonight. So if you would like to do it, you can have the gig. And so that day I went to their offices, which were on Pratt Street at the time. I picked up this giant blue bag. I didn't have a how-to on how to put this thing on, so I'm trying to figure out which way is up and all this. And I had my very first gig, which was in Glastonbury, Connecticut. So I think somebody had worn it previously for the announcement and the unveiling, but for all intents and purposes, I was the first sort of outward-facing Chompers the goat that the Yard Goats had. And as you know, and maybe some of the audience know, it took a little extra time to get the ballpark open. So all we had for that 2016 season when the team was on the road, all we had were community events. So it was the little leagues and the camps and, all the fairs and festivals and all those kinds of things. So I actually got a fair amount of work in before we ever played baseball in Hartford.
Mascots are generally playful and loving and friendly and maybe a little mischievous. But as the first Chompers, how did you develop this character?
You have to be a caricature extension of whatever setting you're in. So if you're at a little league, you've got to be more youthful. You got to play to your audience, right? And you have to do so without ever uttering a word. So a lot of it is body movement, kind of how you present yourself. But I think it has a lot to do with the setting because it didn't come preloaded with fan experiences and a personality over time that was crafted. But you also recognize that you're a 7-foot giant lime green goat with a big smile and big eyes, and your attire is playful and it's a baseball jersey and your shoes are huge and all of these kinds of things. And the physical outfit, the mascot outfit itself kind of provides for some wonky things. It's got like this hula hoop waist, right? So you're athletic, but also you kind of have a Homer Simpson belly that you can play with a little bit. But motion has a lot to do with the identity. Motion, behavior, finding ways to be silly. You deal with a lot of kids who are scared or don't know what to make of you. And so kind of becoming disarming or breaking down those kinds of barriers or learning how to play peekaboo and how to be a little gentler and all of those kinds of motions are all very exaggerated, but are part of the character that you build. And then in certain settings, you have to be way over the top. You got to know how to dance. You got to know how to shimmy and shake. And you kind of have to be class clown immediately and also CEO of the room immediately somehow.
I have a two-pronged question for you.
Sure.
I want to know, when you were in the suit, what in you blossomed that only could have blossomed in the suit? And the other part of this question is, as somebody who has overseen mascots and supervised and judged lovingly people doing this job, have you ever seen somebody who, like, on the outside of the suit is a certain way, but once they get in there, man, are they different?
So let's go back to the first part of the question. Both of my parents were in social service. So my father worked with folks who have intellectual and developmental disabilities. My mother, for many years, did the same work, but then moved into child advocacy. And so I always remember being around adults as a kid, and I always remember being around adults who had developmental needs as a kid as well, too. And the notion of nurturing the experience wherever you might be and being an asset to what is going on and helping people have a better time or facilitating something. A lot of times with kids, now as a dad, I do that daily as a mascot, being around people who are having fun or there to have a good time. But I would often engage with folks on the concourse, maybe who had limited physical mobility, and understanding that for me as the sort of the performer, right? It's a hot, sweaty, stinky day of work for a few hours, right? But for somebody who maybe doesn't get these opportunities a lot and doesn't have this kind of interaction all of the time, it's actually remarkably special and memorable. And knowing that while you're in it permits you, again, to kind of buy into that and realize that in real time and participate in a way that you know is going to be valuable, right? So how many family photos am I in, right? Sitting on the fridge somewhere. How many kids' birthdays did I celebrate? How many of those kind of parent, kid, little league memories, all of these kind of formative things that so often can center around sports as well. Having that appreciation in real time, I hope, is something that people who do this professionally bring with, because it is more than just a stinky, sweaty side hustle, right? It means a lot. It certainly means a lot to the Hartford Yard Goats. I can say that definitively, that the extension of the brand and the identity of the organization need to kind of flow through Chompers and Choo Choo many times. That's important stuff. And if you take that as an important element of your job, then that will pay dividends in terms of how people experience you. The second part of your question, in terms of kind of having that oversight role and having kind of managed people who are in this, the short answer is yes, absolutely. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I know that I have worked with mascots who have confidence challenges in real life, or learning challenges in real life, or challenges building interpersonal relationships in real life, and watching them around hundreds and thousands of people at times step into this role allows them to do things that they wouldn't otherwise probably do, or provides them a confidence that they wouldn't necessarily otherwise have.
All right, so check this trajectory out. Conor is the first official Chompers in 2016, and from there, he levels up to become the game day host for the Yard Goats. So now he's the guy running the show on the field between innings. T-shirt tosses, having fans spin around a baseball bat and then dizzily hop on inflatable ponies. And of course, getting kids to chase each other around the bases. Basically, if there's a way to grab the crowd's attention and keep the energy of the fan experience high, Conor's the one orchestrating all of it. He ends up doing this job so exceptionally well that he begins to get gigs way beyond Hartford's Duncan Park. He becomes the hype man for the crowds at UConn men's and women's basketball games and UConn football games. That opened the door to work some NCAA championship events like FCS football and even the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 in Los Angeles during March Madness. And he was tapped by the Hartford Marathon Foundation to go all around the state, which led to hosting lacrosse tournaments at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts. And then
I got a tap on my shoulder at a UConn women's basketball game from a staff member at the time with the Connecticut Sun. And he said, hello, he introduced himself to me. And he said, would you believe me if I told you that Jen Rosati said I cannot leave until I get your phone number? And I said, that would be a weird thing to make up. So yes, I believe you. Here's my phone number. And was fortunate to be invited to be the host of the Connecticut Sun. I'm in my second season in the WNBA. And because the lacrosse championships were held at Gillette Stadium this year, the folks up at Gillette Stadium saw me that weekend and came down and asked if I would have an interest in working for the New England Patriots this year. So it has gone from a side, yes, out of necessity in college and a nationally televised game to now including the NFL. Yes is a pretty audacious word. And I say yes to as much as I can.
oh man, congratulations on your life. Conor Geary, thank you so much for talking with me.
Thank you for letting me talk and for listening. I want to thank Connecticut for letting me be audacious, because none of this would be possible if it didn't resonate with the people who see what I do. I'm enjoying every minute of it, and it's been a wild ride.
Audacious is always lovingly produced by Jessica Severin DeMartinez, Meg Fitzgerald, and Robin Doyon Aitken at Connecticut Public Radio in Hartford, with help from our interns Coco Cooley and Isaac Moss, who did a lot of very heavy lifting in an oversized costume, metaphorically speaking, for this episode. Thank you so much, Isaac. If you like this episode, check out the one we did featuring famous sports fans, including Ronnie Woo Woo Wickers, Go Cubs, and Banjo Man, Go Niners. Find them at ctpublic.org/audacious or wherever you get your podcasts. Stay in touch with me on the socials at Kyone Wolf. You can always send an email to audacious@ctpublic.org. Peace. Hey, this is Kyone. I am taking you on a walk with me and Jessica Severin DeMartinez. We want to get outside because it is spring. We just listened to this mascot show. Baseball's happening. I just want to get us outside and say thank you so much for listening. We are in our spring fundraiser drive mode right now. And we're not going to have you listen to all the fundraising we did on the on-air version, but we wanted to just drop in here on your podcast player to say thank you, because it's you who allow us to do this job by becoming members of Connecticut Public. And we want to invite you, if you've never done it before, just a quick note to say it's so worth it. It's like season tickets to your favorite baseball game. You can see the mascot anytime you want. But the number is 1-800-584-2788. Or if you want, you can go to ctpublic.org/donate, get yourself an audacious trucker hat. And I just want to say thank you. And we love you. And Jessica, you want to say anything?
Yeah, I just want to say that you are the mascots of Connecticut Public when you give. So thank you so much. We feel the love. We feel the cheer from the crowd. So please consider donating. We're just so thankful.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, see ya. Bye.
Bye-bye.